So we're going live on YouTube, which is Transparency and Merit, and on my three X channels, which one is the same name, Mr. Midnight Movie and Walk Woke. Been looking at certain things, and I was listening to, I can't even pronounce her name, Amala Abenobi. I think I don't know how to say her last. Is it? I think it's. Now I got to look up the name because I'm also on her Discord. Let me take a looky here. Amala, and I don't know how to say her last name, but she's a person of mixed racial heritage. She became.
What's her story, man? Who is she?
She became famous first on TikTok, and then Dennis Prager hired her, and she became, I think, more famous. Now she's independent, and
All right.
she had a former college professor. I can't name him right now, but he's a former college professor that states that that universities primarily have been culturally captured, and that they should just be just completely defunded and made to crumble because there's no saving them. And I tend to agree with that. I don't think there is any savior for the behavior of college campuses. Now, I only went to junior college, JC, and I must say I spent a lot of time goofing off and messing around and didn't take it as seriously as I could. And then I worked for my father and did other odd jobs. Joey, you are a college man, and I think you work in education. Would you say that the educational system has been culturally captured?
I'd say there's an interesting link between the fact that, I'm Jewish, but I'm not religious, and I'm not really into organized religion. I would say the same sort of effect happened with education. Like, I went through it, I did it, but at the end of the day, I'm like, what did I get out of it?
More money, perhaps?
I just always had that relationship with school, though. Like, what am I going to get out of it? But I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of older work ethic that's completely been overhauled. So, it does, what was doesn't apply anymore. And I think a lot of people are going to have a terrible time with letting their egos go on this. But there's all kinds of craziness happening within the education system now. I think they've already gone and forgave how many billions of dollars worth of student loans. Now, the minute that's forgiven, which it's not truly forgiven. I don't know why they call it forgiven, but we're immediately hit with a big tax bill. So as a result, yeah, man, it's a crumbling system, and I unfortunately found out the hard way going through a lot of those college programs that they really were like just empty coats.
Oh, well,
it was all you were on campus for a short while. I saw what college was all about, like making the connections, right? I mean, the people who are able to, it's the perfect place. But for people like me, it was just I think a bad detour.
I was somewhat politically involved a little bit, but I did notice, the one thing I noticed, and this was in the late 1980s, that political correctness was really starting to get into its zenith.
Oh yeah, it was there.
And there was an economics professor at SMC that was basically ousted for being against ethnic and racial studies programs. He said they tantamount to racial cheerleading, and it's counterproductive.
Not that long after that, at Cal State Northridge, Louis Farrakhan came and spoke while I was still going to school there. I don't think that would happen anymore.
Well, no, I think Louis Farrakhan, because he is he's allowed to get away with things because he is part of what is known as the what is known as the protected class, and he's considered part of the historically abused class. So he's allowed to do and say things that yeah.
Back then, there were protests. I think now the protests will be twice as big.
I don't think so. I don't think so against Louis Farrakhan. I disagree. Farrakhan is part of a protected class.
There was plenty of protests against him when he showed up. I do remember
protest that. Doesn't mean that he's not going to be allowed to speak.
True.
And there is a black man that I've been a pro-black person that I've been arguing with on the internet, and it's been rather interesting. But he said, we are slowly taking over society. We are slowly taking over. Society won't let whites do what they want. You all would be removed from society. Black men can openly be proud of our race.
Be careful what you wish for. Are you sure you even want it? Wow.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, at this time, it does fulfill his ego needs, and that's primarily what it is. It's all about ego. And I said, woke leftism promotes white guilt and black racial vendetta. White wokesters with pathological white guilt will side with blacks and POCs. They are culturally captured, and they have the power to economically destroy those they disagree with. Many pro-blacks use this. And I was going to say use it to their advantage, because oftentimes they will try to get you deplatformed, and they will also try to get your employer. A lot of pro-blacks will do that. They know that the system, and they're not leftist, by the way. He says, yes, we do have the power. I'm not with the left at all, but I'll use them to enforce anti-white. They are growing more and more. What are whites going to do to stop this? And my thing is, sometimes there's not a whole hell of a lot. I mean, because I'm powerless myself. There's not a whole hell of a lot one can do. I mean, I could, I'd like to think I could have a move. My walk against the woke movement would basically, boycott and basically look for other alternatives for money, and not just in America, but outside of America too. One of the problems with the anti-woke, a lot of them are extreme patriots, and they do not understand that you have to think outside of the box, and you have to think outside of the country. Like, if you're going to build technology, you're going to have to look for China or India or some other place to build your technology. And in my opinion, it was not the Chinese that were the ones that locked us down and told and demanded that we wear a mask. These are fellow Americans that have done this. These fellow Americans are our enemies. China didn't do any of that. I mean, these Americans paid for China to have the labs. Americans did this, not the Chinese, not the Russians, not the Brazilians. Americans. This is a cultural civil war, and I'd rather deal with the Chinese than I would deal with some of these leftist Americans who enforce certain rules and regulations upon me and don't want to even discuss the issue. No person from China was making these decisions. Dr. Fauci's not Chinese. Don Lemon's not Chinese. Who told people, certain things about,
You
you
you're
know,
starting to sound more like more of a fearmonger than their guy over there with the little hat that he doesn't take off.
yeah. I mean, the thing
Pretty
is,
cool.
yeah, yeah. The thing of it is, no, I think I'm being honest. I mean, and part of,
This
I
is
mean,
not a civil war.
um,
In fact, the Revolutionary War never ended. We're still fighting that.
against England. The thing is, who the hell? Here's
Oh,
here's, here's the deal. There is an economic. I would say if I said civil war, I probably should say more of a cultural war
okay.
going on in America, and it's primarily economic, and sometimes it's violent. But you can, like I said, I believe in learning self-defense. But for the most part, you should flee any kind of violence that you see. The best thing you can do is take a few steps away. Uh,
Let's do
because
that.
proving your manhood is oftentimes not worth it. Um, if someone it looks like trouble, you try to avoid them.
I think, yeah, yeah.
So at the end of the day,
I think
this
what
thing,
we're saying is defend yourself at very least, defend
yeah,
yourself.
and that is it's better to flee a situation. And another thing that patriots who are also anti woke have is they believe that they can kick ass no matter what, and that is the biggest, most foolish mistake.
No, it's a load of crap, and
It-
they have what they offer is a lot of remedies, and what I'm looking for is a cure. So they do not have it. They don't. Their egos are really deep. So I think that's all you got to deal with them.
the problem with their egos is they don't understand a lot of them, and not all of them, but a lot of them don't understand their enemy, and it is foolish to engage in a conflict which you are destined to lose. What do you gain if they just roll over you? You've just been rolled over. You're nothing. You have no influence whatsoever. If they kill you, the movement's over. It does no good. So my opinion is you have to be strategic, and you
Yeah,
don't always have to be honest, and you don't always have to give your opinion to people. Uh, and I have to learn this myself. You got to know where this is going. It's like if you're in a relate, the one thing that anger management I get from anger that I got from anger management is what do you gain by telling somebody your opinion? I mean, if their opinion if their views are opposed to yours and they could punish you and get angry, what's the point?
yeah. Well, that's a good point.
And I find myself wanting to give my opinion to particularly white leftists who say a lot of hyperbolic and stupid things. But then again, I'm like, why don't I want to say anything to them? And to me, I just want to, primarily point them out and point out how crazy they sound, how insane they sound when they say the things they do, and how contradictory they are. And again, I think you have to have an economic force, and it has to be done through financial, because that's how they attack you. They force people to take a vaccine out of mostly out of economic. They didn't, take you out of your homes, but they threatened your job and livelihood. And then they also told you,
I straight away lost a job and was unhireable from two other companies. I did find work, but I lost a job and was unable to be hired at two different jobs as a result of that.
and then
It,
they shut down
I
and
mean,
then they shut down any communication
yeah,
about like any alternatives to this. And they did this from the beginning. They were shutting down information. And again, uh, they told and I don't want to repeat, but they told us to, primarily stay in our homes unless you're an essential worker, but you could go out and you could protest. I mean, if you were part of a protest, you could go out and you could do that.
Yeah.
And the absurdity. But again, what do you gain by confronting some of these people who aren't, they're not going to, they're not going to punish themselves. And again, I think you have to do things in a strategic way to defeat a group of people that have been that have gotten themselves entrenched in our society. They have a lot of them perhaps have been metastasized in the society, and some things you got to cut out. And how the thing is, we know that a lot of these people are mean and they're cruel. My question is, how tough are they, and how tough are you to resist? How long can you go without eating, or how long could you go without Coke? Could you go without Pepsi? Could you go without that delicious cheeseburger that they're serving, but they're ruining the country? Can you what can you go without? How tough can you be? And part of the thing about fasting, I think I have Walk Against the Woke, which is my X site. I'd almost want to do Fast Against the Woke, because how tough are you? I'm not as tough as I think I am, and not as hardworking, like as I think I am too. I mean, before I'm getting ready for bed is when I have all these plans and ideas, and then when I get up in the morning, man, my bones ache and my knees hurt,
Yeah,
and
man. Yeah, feeling it, man.
I'm ready to just go under the covers and sleep forever.
One of the things, one comment I remember my dad, as he says it now, but he said when I was a little kid, he always say, "Getting old sucks," and he'd like hold his back. That's kind of how I am now. Getting old sucks. Arr.
Yeah, getting old stinks, and just yeah, it's it's a tough one, and not only does getting old suck, but yeah, I mean, yeah, getting old sucks more, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can do things that make your life a little bit easier. But
There's no cure for the clock.
that's true. The Grim Reaper is going to come sooner or later.
He's coming.
You know what? I have a call from my supervisor,
Uh-oh.
so I'm gonna unless you want to keep on, Joey, I'm gonna end the show.
Yeah,
I want.
I can. Why don't you step away? I'll see if I'm still here when you get back. Maybe.
All right, I'm gonna step out real quick. Actually, I'll just put myself on mute. You can continue.
So, from my perspective, I don't see the world where these people are really, and I'm talking about the people that Brian's been kind of pointing towards. I don't know. I don't see them, but the comment is interesting, mainly because I have seen the growth and the changes. We truly have become more inclusive in certain ways, if you want to use that word. I feel in the process, maybe we've maybe become maybe a step closer to full blown communism, if not has it not already just stunk up the entire place? Who knows? My uncle was was a cartoonist for a newspaper in the 1950s. And he was writing some really interesting political commentary. I may try to throw some of those up for our pages. He's really was pointing out what all of these services are going to end up doing to our children and our grandchildren. Well, I think that the time is relevant. I think this is what's happening. I think that the debts were made and the check is coming due. So I think that's what we're facing, and it's challenging because along the way we were sugared up and we were fattened up, and and I know people who look at me like I'm crazy because of my work ethic, which is not even 1/10 that of some people I know. I know people with incredible, like they are 100% in. I'm not that guy. I need a life, but yeah.
How do you increase your work ethic, Joey? I just got back.
So what I've come to what I've come to some sort of uh, I don't want to say agreement because there is no agreement on this, but there was a challenge put before me a long time ago, and I think work ethic was what was at question, and I never I never have a problem with working. I have a problem with jobs, and I always had a change, a difference of opinion. But I grew up around people who um, were like hand in glove when it came to the corporate world, and it's quite a thing if you haven't seen that up close and personal. I think all of us have, right? We have to make that decision on like where is it that okay if I'm not motivated um, to give what it takes to be successful in a corporate type of gig, what am I going to give, and so it becomes very interesting, but it's a very personal assessment. I can't tell you that, and I don't think people need to be telling other people to be more uh, productive or less productive. But there we are.
Yeah, I mean, um, I think for me, fasting. I mean, and I think work ethic works different with different people, but
Sure.
I think fasting for me works,
Having
and
being able to self ignite is important. I've always felt like that, and eating right. Absolutely, you got to feed the machine. You got to sleep it. You got to feed that machine and feed it right because chili dogs will get to you. Beer will get to you. I think, um, but you're not a big drink. You don't drink at all.
no, and I think that endurance of pain. Like, hey, man, this might be painful,
Right.
but
It's a big one. That's a bit. You know
these
who I
moments.
could partially blame for that? Sorry to cut you off. You know who I partially blame though?
What?
Kobe Bryant and like that era of NBA basketball where everybody was flopping. You know, they weren't getting fouled, but they were hitting the floor pretty hard. Like, oh, appealing to the what would be now, well, I would just say like, it's appealing to get the calls both from the crowd and from the refs.
I think to a large degree we are like for me anyway. Some of us have been so well taken care of that out of necessity, like if your place of if where you're going to sleep you can handle that. I mean, and food is easy to come by than other things. Um,
Sure,
then
man.
work ethic is probably hampered when people are, is it steel sharpens steel, and we have a society now with the welfare state and with you
Dude,
know
we were pushed though down. This is all by design.
I don't believe again, I don't
How,
know.
how do you not see that? What part of it do you not think is? so he can
because
fix you.
because I don't. I think I think human beings come in with good intentions,
Right.
and then when the mistakes are made, they don't want to admit them. Uh,
Usually the mistakes are beyond them, though. Like
I mean,
the masterminds they've got a plan for almost every outcome, so it doesn't really matter.
yeah, I mean that's almost like the Wizard of Oz. You know, there's a man
Yeah,
behind the curtain, and are
sure,
there secret groups coming in and meeting?
absolutely.
I don't agree with that. I just don't believe that. You know what? Because I used to kind of think that, but that to me is a cinematic view of of power, and I think people in power.
Really,
I think here's my belief on this.
it's all a game. It's all completely rigged, and it all can be shown. I mean,
That's true. It is rigged, but there's not
I
like,
think
oh, we're gonna. I
yeah,
mean, what do you? Again, there are people who have
your head in sand.
there are people who have motivations.
All right, for what? To keep
Well,
a dying
they
system.
think they're going to make society better.
This
And
is changing. People need to get ready for it.
here's the deal. Yeah, they do need to get ready for it. But the thing of it is, human beings think they're doing the right thing, and then when they're wrong, they don't want to admit it. I think the cover-ups come when mistakes are made, and then that's when the lies and the dishonesty come. When they are brought, when they have to explain themselves, that's when the dishonesty, the gaslighting, and everything else comes. Uh, it doesn't come, like you know, I don't think that there are men or women in a secret room wanting certain things. Like that they have a plan, an evil or diabolical or plan with malice. They absolutely believe that they are doing the best and the good for the public. And then when they fail, that's when they have contradictory beliefs oftentimes. Anyway, Joey, is there anything that you want to say on what I just said? Do you have a response?
Not at all. I gotta get running anyways. But what's up to you, Mr. Scott? Bonded Bean. Got any thoughts here for what Brian's been saying? I got
Well,
it going.
okay. Scott says that I am naive, and
I am with Scott on that. You are naive.
you know what? To you, I may be, and that I have no problem with people thinking that I am naive. But again, I do believe that people, powerful people, um,
Dude,
uh,
dude, I've
I,
been telling you for months banks are going to be in trouble. They just announced hundreds of banks are in jeopardy of going under. The major banks, I think we're all going to be, anybody who has got money in major banks, that's not to worry. But if you have money in a non like massive bank, get it out. Like get it out. What are you doing? Like there's been bank runs at all the institutions. Bank runs, Brian. There's something happening.
well, um, I just think I don't know. I don't think I think there are people that think that there's malice, and actually their ego. I'll get into that later. That their ego thinks there's malice because they want to kind of believe in a comic book world of society. Anyway, Joe, is there anything to add before I end this puppy? Like
Interest rates are a greater problem than race.
that is true. However, there is a problem with regards to multiculturalism.
Yeah, what was this new bill, Scott? I actually have heard about this. Crazy.
Oh, there is an anti-Semitic bill that's been passed that's rooted in the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and it's I forget the name of it, but it's been
Okay, I gotta go this time.
put in on college campuses, and we'll get into that later because I want to read more on it. I've heard just a few things on that, so I have to get a little bit more in tune with that. Anyway, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Thank you for listening. Also on my Twitter channels as well. Thank you very much. Good day.